Our new chapter has to do with Congress. And if you look here, this is the piece of iconography, the seal of the United States Congress, and you see the 13 stars and the 13 stripes for our 13 original colonies, e pluribus unum, from many one, the eagle, the olive branch signifying peace, the arrows signifying war, and I'm guessing you already knew that, but if you didn't, there you go. That's what it means. So I want to give you some base knowledge before we get into more detail about these terms over the next week or two. And the first concept is fairly simple. Incumbents. These are the people who already have the job. They already have the congressional seat. Now, if you look at this chart, the incumbency advantage is approaching 100% in some of these elections. So in short, if you have a congressional seat, you're likely to keep it. And if you're trying to get rid of that person, it's an uphill battle. Very, very challenging to get an incumbent out of there. Now, the next term is casework, and I know this term applies to other fields outside of government, but these are activities of members of Congress that help constituents as individuals, cutting through bureaucratic red tape to get people what they think they have a right to get. It's good PR for the congressperson, and it helps the person in need. So you're kind of cutting through all that sort of big picture stuff and helping a constituent that's in dire need of some outcome, and that's called casework. Now, pork barrel has nothing to do with food. Don't confuse it with Cracker Barrel. That's where old people go to eat. But pork barrel are projects, grants. These are sorts of things that help you look good to your constituents. Sometimes they're not necessarily important. They're more of a luxury item, if you will. So some people try to sneak these into bills to make their constituents like them more. And some people are always checking legislation to say, hey, this is a pork barrel sort of spending. We don't need that. And that give and take that happens. So pork barrel is an expression. It's not literally pork. Now, bicameral, now prefix bi, bifocal, bicycle, means two. And the U.S. has a House and it has a Senate, too. 435 House members, 100 senators, and they both have to agree on a piece of legislation before it goes to the president or the governor's desk. And 49 out of 50 states, they also have bicameral legislature. Nebraska doesn't, but we don't live in Nebraska. I don't think a whole lot of us are planning to go to Nebraska, so let's move on. Sorry if you're from Nebraska. Enjoy the lackluster football team in the corn. Okay, so House Rules Committee, an institution unique to the House of Reps that reviews all bills except for revenue, budget, and appropriation. Before it goes to the full House, they want to make sure they have everything right. In a sense, it's proofreading. If you don't understand this, if you had a really big paper in your English class, you might have some people check it out first before you turn it into the teacher to make sure it's good, that sort of thing. Now, a filibuster is a strategy unique to the Senate where you can simply talk and talk and talk to kill a bill to the point where you keep talking because there's no limit. And I'd be remiss to not mention Senator Thurmond. Senator Thurmond broke the filibuster record where he spoke continually for 24 hours and 18 minutes against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. Little fun fact, a couple fun facts about Strom Thurmond. He served for 48 years. He died at the age of 100, and here's this guy who was so against civil rights. He actually fathered a child with a 15-year-old black girl when he was in his 20s. So I guess you could call him really good at filibustering and really good at being a hypocrite. Sorry if you're a Strom Thurmond fan, but I don't think anybody is. I think it's kind of hard to be. Okay, now the Speaker of the House, this is a big position. You are third in line for the presidency, and it's mandated in the Constitution. Now, the Speaker is chosen by the majority party, and they have formal and informal powers. This is a very big position. Essentially, you are the leader of the House of Representatives. Big position. Now, majority leader. Now, this is the principal partisan ally of the Speaker of the House or the party's manager in the Senate. Now, the majority leader is responsible for scheduling bills, influencing committee assignments, and rounding up votes in behalf of party's legislative positions. Very powerful and important position. And this is a political cartoon. This is Senator McConnell out of Kentucky, and that is former President Obama. And they're saying, hey, I'm the majority leader. I have a veto. And, there you go. There's the tension. in politics right there. Now, whips. It has nothing to do with a literal whip or Miracle Whip. Some people put that on their sandwiches. Now, whips are party leaders who work with the majority leader or minority leader to count votes beforehand and lean on waivers whose votes are crucial. These are the people who have to be very charismatic, very assertive, that sort of thing. Because if somebody's wishy-washy, I don't know how I'm going to vote on that, you have to win them over. And a lot of, meals and whining and dining and persuading and negotiating, that sort of thing, are the whips. Now, a minority leader is the principal leader of the minority party in the House of Reps. So this is Representative Jeffries, and he's actually giving a hug to former Representative McCarthy. And it's nice. This is rare that this happens. So in the House, the minority leader is there, with the speaker as kind of to keep a balance. It kind of takes you back to the old Federalist, anti-Federalist sort of vibe. Okay, so that's a minority leader. Now, standing committees are committees that don't go away. And if you look at some of these topics, there's quite a few of these here. There are things that are never going away in U.S. government. We always need to protect ourselves. We always need to work with other countries. We have to figure out how to get our transportation and railroad tracks and highways and that sort of thing. So these are the standing committees. These don't change. Now, joint committees, far fewer than standing committees. And these are congressional committees on a few subject matters with membership drawn from both houses. Here's an example. The joint committee to put on the inauguration, not the most important function. So standing committees are far larger in number than joint committees. Now, conference committees are formed when the Senate and the House pass a particular bill in different forms. Party leadership appoints members from each house to iron out the differences and bring back a single bill. Because there's multiple people involved, think of it like this. You're doing a project in school and everybody contributed to the project. At the end, somebody has to step up and kind of even it out so it's uniform, the tone is uniform, the format's uniform. That's kind of the rationale behind conference committees. Now, select committees are congressional committees appointed for a specific purpose. For example, the Watergate investigation, in this case, the attacks of January 6th, to target one specific issue that is pressing. That's a select committee. Now, legislative oversight is Congress's monitoring of the bureaucracy and the administration of policy, performed mainly through hearing. Essentially, you keep an eye that things are being run on the up and up. You're trying to free up corruption and wrongdoing. So you're basically just keeping an eye on things. I'll give you an analogy. Our principal would be looking at my Google Classroom to make sure I'm teaching what I'm supposed to be teaching. You kind of get that. You have people looking over you. Now, committee chairs, very, very powerful. They have a lot of influence on the congressional agenda, and they play really important roles for, hearings and staff and subcommittees. Now, don't worry so much who these people are. These people come and go, they change. But if you look at what they chair, natural resources, veterans affairs, the budget. So these are very powerful positions that people have. Now, seniority system is a pretty simple idea. You see it a lot of times in union shops, but it's a simple rule in effect until the 70s that said whoever was there the longest would be running the show. Now, you go to school. I'm guessing you have some teachers that are your favorite teachers who are relatively new to the profession, and you might have some old-timey teachers like me, and you're like, they're not that great. Just because you're old doesn't mean you're good. So you can see the flaws in this way of thinking, but that's the way it was done for a long, long time. Now, a caucus, congressional caucus, are a group of members sharing some interest or characteristic. And here's some examples. The people in Congress who have a medical background, the Asian American members of Congress. Here's a fun one, the wine caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus. So people gravitate to people with a common interest, and that applies in a high school and it applies in Congress. Now, a bill. Now, this is the most important thing. We're going to spend the most time on this. And yes, I am playing the Schoolhouse Rock song out of principle. I don't care if it's AP because it's a lot of fun, and I was raised on it. So there, period, done. But anyway, a bill is a proposed law drafted in legal language. Now, any member of Congress can draft a bill, but only a member of the House of Representatives or Senate can formally submit a bill for consideration. It's a pretty involved process, which I'm going to show you. So those are the basic vocab terms of this chapter, and I look forward to teaching you in a little more detail what they are all about, and I appreciate you watching.